Okay guys, let's see the solution. In this question also we are using two loops, but they are not nested. Okay, one is for loop and second one is while loop. Okay, and there is a not any new concept in the question, but it is a very interesting question, you will see. Okay, so initially we have two variables, which first one is sum1 whose initial value is 0, and second one is sum2 whose also initial value is 0, and we have a I variable for loop. Okay, so as we can see in the for loop, we are initializing the I variable y1. Okay, then we 1 is less than 5, obviously 1 is less than 5, we come inside the loop and this statement executed. Okay, which means that sum1 equal to sum1 plus I, and the value of sum1 we have 0, then which means that 0 plus I, the value of I we have 1, 0 plus 1 is 1, and now the new value of sum1 is 1, because we are initializing the result into variable sum1. Okay, so now this statement got executed, and the control again comes to the for loop, which means that the value of I now is 2, and the condition is checked, is 2 is less than 5, obviously 2 is less than 5, then the condition is true. Then we come to inside the loop then the control comes inside the loop, and we solve this expression, which means that sum1 plus I, and the value of sum1 now is 1, and the value of I is 2, which results in 3. Now the value 3 is stored in the variable sum1, which means that the 1 is overridden and the 3 value is stored in the variable sum1. Now the control again comes to the for loop, and the value of I becomes 3, and then the condition is checked, is 3 is less than 5, obviously 3 is less than 5, then the condition is true, and the controls come to the inside the loop, and we can see this statement is again executed, which means that the value of sum1 now is 3, and the value of I is also 3, which means that the result is 6, and this now 6 value is stored in the variable sum1, which means that 3 is overridden by the value 6. Then again the control comes to the for loop. Okay, and the value of I is 4, 4 is less than 5, obviously 4 is less than 5, then condition is again true, condition again true, this statement is again executed, which means that the value of sum1 is 6, and the value of I is 4, which results in 10. Now the value 10 is stored in the variable sum1. Okay, now the control again come to the for loop, which means that the value of I is again 5, 5 is less than 5, obviously 5 is not less than 5, which means that this condition is not true, which means that this loop got terminated. Okay, so after this we come to the control come to the this line, which is saying that the value of I is again comes to 1, which means that now the value of I is 5, and the value of I now becomes 1 because of this initialization. Okay, now we have a while loop in which we are having a condition which says that I is less than equal to 5. We have a value of I as 1, which means that 1 is less than equal to 5, obviously 1 is less than equal to 5. Then we come to the inside the loop, and the value of I is increased by 1, which means that the value of I is now 2, and this statement is now executed, which is saying that sum2 equal to sum2 plus I, which is equal to the value of sum2 is 0, and the value of I we have as 2, and which result into 2, and the 2 value is stored in variable sum2. Okay, the control again comes to the while loop. Here we check the condition, is 2 is less than equal to 5, obviously 2 is less than equal to 5, so this condition is true. We again come to inside the loop, and the value of I is now 3, because we are incrementing with the value of I by 1. Now this statement encounters, which means that the value of sum2 is now 2, and the value of I is 3, which is equal to 5, and now the new value of sum2 is 5. Okay, control again come to this while loop, and we check here if 3 is less than 5. Obviously 3 is less than 5, this condition is true. The controls come inside the loop and this statement is executed, which means that the value of I is now 4. Okay, now this statement encounters, which means that we are just summing up the value of sum2 plus and I. Okay, so the value of sum2 we have as 5 and the value of I is 4, which means that we got result as 9 and the 9 is stored in the variable sum2. Okay, so again we come to the control comes to the while loop, and here we check is 4 is less than equal to 5. Obviously 4 is less than 5, then condition is again true. We come to the inside the loop and the value of I is increased by 1, which means that the value of now I is now becomes 5. Okay, after that this statement is encounters and we got the result. The value of sum2 is 9 and the value of I is 5. Okay, which means that 9 plus 5 is 14, and now the new value of sum2 is 40. Okay. The control again comes to the while loop, and here we check if 5 is less than equal to 5. Obviously 5 is equal to 5, then this condition is true and the controls come to the inside the loop and the value of I becomes 6. Okay, so now as we can see here, this statement encounters, which means that the value of sum2 now is 14 plus 6, which means that 20. Now the new value of sum2 variable is 20, and the control again come to the while loop, which means that we check here the condition with I. 6 is less than equal to 5. Obviously 6 is not less than equal to 5, which means that the condition is false and this loop terminate. We come to the outside the loop, which means that here we can found a printf statement in which we are printing the value of I, sum1 and sum2. As we can see, we have the value of I as 6, okay, and the value of sum1 10 and the value of sum2 is 20. So this is the output of this question. Thanks for watching.